Jordan Soki Chonam La Janju Bada Dagni Gapsu Chi Dagi Chanyan Gi Pe Choknam King Jolam Pancha Sange Drupa So Jordan Soki Chonam La Janju Bada Dagni Gapsu Chi Dagi Chanyan Gi Pe Choknam King Jolam Pancha Sange Drupa So Sange Jordan Soki Chonam La Janju Bada Dagni Gapsu Chi Dagi Chanyan Gi Pe Choknam King Jolam Pancha Sange Drupa So Gate para Samkate Bodhi Swaha Antayata Gate para Samkate Bodhi Swaha Gate para Samkate Bodhi Swaha
Ola so da semja tamje go do tobja la na ma che ba sanje ko ba ren bo che chine ja to ba cha di che de me chan chu se ba lab ja la chui che de nyam to la wa le xin ba le to la to che sho ma no wa ji go de kap so ba wa de ne ke se chen bo shi wa la ge se ba ne chu chu de ne che che bi ni ge sam sam cha.
And so I will do whatever I possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, knowing that to attain that state, I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings in turn, I must be able to gain a good knowledge of them, and I gain this by being able to rely upon a non-mistaken text. And it is with this in mind that I have this opportunity to listen to just such a mind training text known as the King of Mind Training text as composed by the great master Shantideva.
Nam ju de ne shen che chen ane che ko shen se ta ye che tang wo chi ge yin sa ane ta che ge de da de ju na wo zo ta da de lu na na ge che dun de gang tu du chi shu jo ane ge de ji so so bu da de ta de ma de de yo yin na ta ane che so gang de de che ba che ane ka so de ta ge ba ta da sa ane che ka so de 도지 기도라 쇼마도 바이네 간테데 쇼 이네 소소게 제가 뭐가 이제 그 속에 도지 기도자 류나나 최대 되게 되지 가서 되게 예대에서 통해 통해 아니 뒤에서 대유 삼삼제 아니 어디를 공부해 어디서
And so then we have the job of now setting up the merit field, but also in relation to ourselves to really set ourselves up to do the best we can during this short space of time. And that is to be able to sit in a proper position, in an upright position with the spine straight, and if possible, in the Vajra posture with the legs crossed. And even if we can't manage that, to imagine, to visualize itself that we are in that very position. It's very auspicious to be able to do so. In the space in front of us is our, in reality, our own guru in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, who has one face and two hands, with the right hand in the earth-touching mudra and the left hand holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. And all around us, we visualize the all-kind mother sentient beings, from starting with the mother and father that we had in this life, and then in previous life, and the one previous to that, going right back to beginningless time, such that we have this knowledge or this awareness of being surrounded by all kind mother sentient beings without exception.
아니 랑게 두나 세 둥게 나가라 세테베 라마 투베 온보디 아니 지고 온가고 템바 아무보 투가 호모보 이게 숨자 세트 아니 텔레 웨세 트네 아니 심자 탐 제게 아니 토마면서 디바다 디바다 내전 딕지 바차다 저바 장치 다바 제소 삼사체 아니데 아니데 장치 다바 제네 아니 대달 데레 주에 아니 개와디게데 동송고 동치고 직대 가 용조 아니 거서데 하다미 최베 제 나서바지 바준 준 아니 데 초지 개와서데 저발 바추와피 추바표와 때는 최대세 개와서데 제가 투주를 대화 중 대외 동반이 대도 니스마 이시 계속 써다 되는 공부자.
And then focusing on the central figure in the merit field, we see that the figure is marked by the three syllables: Om at the crown, A at the throat, and Hung at the heart center. Then light rays emanate from the Hung at the heart center, going out into all the realms of existence and in dissolving into all the sentient beings, effecting a complete purification of all the negativities and obscurations of those sentient beings and since beginning this time, as well as their imprints, and that the virtue that has been accrued by doing this is then offered to all of the 3,000 realms, Buddhas in the 3,000 realms, and it makes an offering. It appears as an offering to them, and they are pleased by this. They experience the bliss combined with voidness, and they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
What the chuapa and the dog to you good. 아니 뭐 대다 초지 겨워서다 저 고소도게 연대 임발라 나봐 아니 랑게 되나서다 라마 투바ombe 나발라 제장네 아니 랑게 되나 동게 나가 곰벨 라마 투바ombe 라마 팁 아니 라마 투바ombe 거서도 고당고 예매 고도도 예매 교수 상 고소도도 예매 교수 삼사체 어디 공부시 아니 뭐 예매 교수 삼사체 아니 중나 데라데라 대화통 대외 동반에 대도니스마 이시 계속 삼삼체 아니 라야 투가 라마 투가 오베 투가를 왜서 빠도 매바 트네 아니 옹겔 하나 젠타 아니 아니 온래 온고네 아 꾸이시기 두제카 추일라마 제도 내발래 아니 미기고 우게 되겠지 어때든지 공부시
So then the wisdom beings arrive at the figure in front, in fact, an embodiment of all the qualities of all of the beings, all of the Buddhas of the 3,000 realms, and they dissolve into the central figure of the merit field, such that the central figure of the merit field is now the embodiment of all the Buddhas in all the different realms of existence. The central figure that we are visualizing also experiences the bliss which combines with voidness and abides in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. Then the light rays emanate from the Hung at the heart center again, this time inviting back the wisdom beings from their natural abodes. They offer the empowerment, the nectar, which overflows at the crown and where is produced the spontaneous figure of Akshobhya.
어다랑게 dunge nangala 아니 저거 심지 탐제게도 산제 공부주 외치도 아니 소사 진짜 오다 된대 지에게는 다 아니 랑게 가서 왜다 소사 진짜 지에게는 그것도 된도 다 그것도 대체도 아니 dunge nangala 라면 두 배우고 아니 가서도 이시바 무엇을 주네 오다 산제 공부 마도 봐도 제수 손에 주요 상상 어디를 공부하셔
And so we remind ourselves that the figure that we're visualizing as the merit field now has completely purified, completely purified of all possible negativity and imprints, and has accumulated all the positive merit. And they have been certainly empowered by the wisdom beings and embodiment of all enlightened energy. And we really have the sense of, a really privilege at this point of being in a situation where we are being protected by the enlightened Buddha until we attain enlightenment.
我打的那个那么特别红不的，那古松土个原的，我打这个的钱，那么特别红不的，当本来上街就把这买一把钱，俺那时候那些来当不去，希望古代人这个这，等待这个，告诉他家中个什么土给，严重给，家中是土给，拉不拉？我那时候蹲到了土给，我那时候蹲到了拉不拉？我那时候我把这个上街的人给去。让几把他们来这吧，先几把在这边，他来去吧，过了推荐什么你这没不去嘛，看他妈的，这个对这个，我他真的引把我车手上上我这个恐怕些，
And then we recall indeed the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, but also really remind ourselves that the Buddha was at one point just like us and very much hampered by mental affliction and so on. But then having really seen the benefits of generating initially the great compassion and then the special intention of generating the enlightened wish of bodhicitta, of the mind of enlightenment itself. So for our sake generated that mind, for our sake also proceeded on the path to accumulate all the collections, and for our sake eventually manifested full and complete enlightenment. This is the enlightened being who has no fear of suffering in relation to himself, has skilled in means in removing the suffering of others, who works for the benefit of all without bias and with great compassion, and works to benefit all, regardless of whether there is benefit in return or not.
我这个恐怕些，等呢，让给他我都有个甚至他们这。甚至在他谈这讲，让他过不能从完一把去，对我对讲对不？没对我东爱的，东爱这个讲了这个年的月这个去，我觉得恐怕些，那么特别我们不给，古松都会原来的单位的话，一个的话，我就给的话，我觉得这恐怕些，让给等那个那么特别我们原来的同样那些，他也别嘛给甚至他这个样，我他。这个日出所有东西那些话，你把看起来，那么就我老做那些月这个这，那么特别我们原来有把我吹出去，的当然的话，一个的话，我就给的话，老说我但是中国人给的话有把这是恐怕些。
And then we bring our attention to all the sentient beings all around us. And just like us, they want the happiness that they are so bereft of. They want to avoid the suffering that they are so inundated by. And we all look towards the central figure, the enlightened being, and with that assurance that we can do something about this. And so we have that pure faith, that manifest faith, that faith of conviction. We recall the qualities of the enlightened being. And even though all the sentient beings all around us are representatives of the six realms of existence, they are all able to cognize this situation with a human intelligence. And so there is this recognition of the capacity of the enlightened being to really provide us a pathway. And that this again brings forth this sense of pure faith, manifest faith, and faith of conviction from all of us.
我打的那么的，甚至在他们这，电话的电话就在这吧，在那这么的电话手机、电话手机、电话打个这个东北的就在这吧，这么的这话手机、这话说起，这话打个这个，在那见到吧，那么突然我这个恐怕是，在那东北那边电话的名字的这么的名字手机、名字我说起，名字我打个这，在那见到吧，那么突然我们见到。经济劳动所，但见到个那么特别我们经济劳动所，但在他用下来，甚至在你的恰当的时候，打牛了那我就没觉得他们那个，真正用本身打牛了那基本上那我就那我说着，那我大概在他见到那么特别我们经济劳动所选择去，选择这么来的，那么特别过来对在那个原来的这个原本的。对这搞不多些情况，什么通话没有地方的地方，就在开发对前面是个多外基本了，发的是地方的地方，那你不要我们搞的不能说话。就那张些大话中书，上次我在那公布些，
And so, together with the sentient beings, of course, we generate this supplication of how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful if all sentient beings could be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. How wonderful if all sentient beings could have the happiness that knows no suffering and the excellent bliss of liberation. And in realizing how essential it is that we have no discrimination, we also make the supplication for equanimity. How wonderful if all sentient beings could abide in equanimity, free from attachment and anger that holds some close and others distant. And as a result of making our supplications like this, we invoke the Buddha in the merit field to send out the 5 colored nectar lights with the white light predominant, entering into the crowns of myself and all the sentient beings all around us, and purifying all negativities and obscurations in general, and particularly focusing on the purification of any obstacle we have to generating the 4 immeasurable thoughts as realization.
양조소 왔다 왔다 때는 아니 두세 내가 왜서 저번에 대회에서 또 세부 수치하지 요건지 아니 란다 타고는 심지다 지보네 말셔 류탐절 와다 되게 두세 세 칸에 아니 고사 지가서 되게 또 bak혀 봐자 랑시 심지 탐제 이렇게 계속 서서 어딘데 고바시
And again, we make the supplications, and again, the 5 colored nectar lights come from the heart center, this time with the yellow golden light predominant and entering into the crowns of myself and all the sentient beings all around, this time endowing us with a special blessing and capacity to generate the 4 immeasurable thoughts as realization.
어디를 다 이제 지금 다 심지어 탐제가 지가서도 도연지 그서도 심지어 탐제도 산제 고마 와다 지금 마주나 탐해봐라 다 된대 줘발래 아니 자주가 샘세니 차와지 자주가 샘세니 차와지 개발래야 아니 배 니제 세니 차와지 개고 요래 아니 어다 된대 용하라 아니 지가서도 된대 용하라 다 간제 지가서도 심지어 탐제라 니리 차탐해 가지고 요래 아니 어다 된대 영화라 다 소속의 셈데 아니 코녀 셈 따뇽 코녀 보고 셈제 작당 걸 롬내 가지고 거기도 와 어다 다 된대 임바죠 아니 지금 가서래 되게 코미네테네 다다데 교대명가 두고 거나 셈레다 다시 냠제 거나 셈로 땅가 이바인데 다 거기 돈을 소소로 로라 밥치하나 데 셈로 땅에 자주가 셈지 게다 맞잖아 탑배바로 마탈레 쥐마 순제게 깨봐 맞잖아 탑배바로 된대 임바서 빼나 마셰 된대 어디 잡아나 셈제 탐제 마르셰 마르셰 세til라 말 요번에서 생각마 대응마 솔레바다 지가서데 계단들 계내 시 요번에는 아니 가게다 어느 공개돼서는 게봐도 마코팅에 소리 책이 요래 다들 이마 인사 어느 랑게 깨와들 토마메바 이마 인사 아니 지금 심제 레레자 마장메바 좀 맞잖아 당기메바지 당기메바 인데 아니 심제 탐제 랑게 마셰 다 마셰네 아니 세티 마틴 쳐보 이번에 생각하면 마데 tin쳐보 디가마 마데 tin쳐보 이거 데 진짜가 삼로다 마시 진짜 다 근데 tin쳐보들 가르쳐서 다 tin소고요래 아니 tin소고 다 마시 진짜 tin소고 똑바 야고지 개바이나 아니 심지어 수이 통화이네 작다면 영어게 잡아지 개두고 와 근데 그 영원 잡아지 개바이나 아니 동에게 나와 받더라 미스베 니제 용대 아니 대화 된두게 잡아 용대 근데 다 동에게 나와라 미스베 니제 대화 된두게 잡아 용대 아니 근데 그 동에세에 대화 주면 이게 지금에서 학습도 용도 들어와 다 학습 위원회 소소 지가도 심지어 탐자셔서 심지어 지가 대화 탐자도 뭐 동네 저 제마도 다 대대 제도에 내버서서 랑이 되나 세대베 라마 투야 오베 고마 타베 마담나 타면도 어디 토바 지금 산사가 된데 로직 다 된데 로직 게토바지 오다 된데 저라 당간제 제가 심지어 탐자도 산제 공부 안 맞은 타모도 투바 지금 해서 된데 자주가 셈직 맞아 주마 순제가 아니 게토바지 what 공부 시고 우여 what did it
And so we have this this intention to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and that we realize that in order to attain that state, I must generate that mind of enlightenment. It goes without saying, and especially to generate a fully qualified mind of enlightenment, and that in turn is built on the generation of the genuine compassion, the great compassion. And that in turn is built upon the mind of loving kindness, of really feeling that closeness to all sentient beings. And of course, that in turn is built on having a sense of equanimity towards all sentient beings, no kind of attachment and aversion as in any way detectable in our attitude. And this is built upon through the various methods that are presented in the texts for generating the mind of enlightenment, being the seven cause and effect instruction, or the instruction known as the equalizing and exchanging of self and others. And so this is where it begins. It begins with really seeing all sentient beings as having played the role or being in that role of mother for us, and how this is absolutely a crucial first cause, as it were, to be able to see that just like our parents in this life have been so incredibly kind to us, so indeed this role has been played in all of the previous lives that we have that we've had, the one previous to this, and so on. There are the four different types of rebirth: birth from a womb and birth from an egg require a mother. And so this is the logic behind it, that we have had so many mothers, countless mothers, since beginningless time, in fact. Indeed, if we were to number all the sentient beings, we would not reach the count of those who have acted in the role of mother for us. And so this is established, that all the sentient beings have acted in the role of mother for us actually countless times, not just once. And so once we've established that, then we, of course, established how that kindness has been there, this incredible wealth of kindness coming from all these kind mother sentient beings. And that, of course, once we've established that, there's the urge to wish to repay that kindness. And how would that look? You know, that Yes, how can we repay that kindness? And again, it begins with that sense of really equalizing all sentient beings into that equanimous mind state where there's no trace of attachment or aversion, and wanting to build on that by seeing all sentient beings as being incredibly close. So we have that sense of affectionate love to all, regardless. And that, of course, then has us tremendously concerned, on the one hand, to make sure that they have happiness and its causes, but also that they are free from suffering and its causes, meaning that we also have that sense of compassion towards all sentient beings. And this is heightened and more intensified until we take a special, a personal responsibility, the special intention of I will be the one to lead all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment. I will be the one to remove all that suffering and to place them into every happiness. But of course, when we look around, when we honestly look at our situation, we realize that we are in no way qualified to be able to do that, maybe even not for one sentient being. But when we look in front in the merit field, we see actually that state of enlightenment, the Buddhahood. That is the state that really has the capacity to work for all sentient beings in all of the myriad different ways necessary to understand the different dispositions and personalities and so on of all sentient beings. And so, therefore, it's really kind of like really incumbent upon us at this point. We say it's not just that I will attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, but I see I have to. I really have to. There is no choice about this, and I must not just generate the mind of enlightenment, but I must do so unartificially. It must be genuine.
Tende koyo de jungla de juma mai ba ko de yina ya ta te ngo de le tang bo le juma mai ba ka bo wa ta kyung jan samlo ta ne ani be kyung jan samlo ta ne juma su je ga ba komne ani de be ya je ta ne juma mai ba su yo gu wa ta wa juma mai ba su yo gu wa ta de je juma su je ga an be kom je ne wa de 공부시 아니 어떤데 공부시 베게 된데게 된데게 두바디 아니 다외 긴고 냐카와지 주네 그러다 된데게 무슨 두바디 담보 랑게 니가 하돌라 이게 아치라 주소로 삼자잖아 아 용서 좀 말해 다외 긴고 냐카와지 주소로 삼자잖아
And of course, initially, this mind will be artificial. It's a sort of inevitable. As beginners, we don't have the kind of like a sincerity to maintain that 100%. But we kind of constantly, kind of as it were, we nourish that initial kind of seed of mind of enlightenment with the reasoning, valid reasoning, and back it up until we move from an artificial generation of it until it becomes genuine and unartificial. This, in turn, this mind of enlightenment reflection is represented by the syllable "ah" at our heart center. And this then it transforms into the white moon disk mandala.
어떻게 공부시 이게 아치를 주스 아티가 셈샤 자주가 셈코네 셈데샤 아니 된데 아디 아니 요수 주발에 다외지 뭐냐 가와치 어떻게 주소 삼사 어떻게 공부시 뭐 자주가 셈이 발라 나봐 아니 다외지 뭐냐 가와치 어떻게 주소 삼사자 다들 어떻게 다 된데 그 셈제 탐제가 다 산제 공부 두비 세계 ngati ane ngati ta nga khoran ne ta de kendre sha ngati ane ka so de tu de ngati ta kendre sto nga ra wan de tu re tu re mo do wo da che ba che ngati de ngati rang ke sem de re tu ya na rang ke lu de re tu ta lu ke cha cha re re ne ya ma che ba che on de nga me ba de ngo chon ko to rang ke sem ke ching ngan chi re re ne ya wa che on de ane ngati ma yin ba de ngo chon ko to 안타데 모초온데 다 나데 다 라완의 조바성도 때내면 선도 코다 줘봐 주전자 가서 오르다 주전자야 뭐 라완의 조바성 싸워지 내면 코다 줘봐 공부시 가자 가서 다가랑 가 셈샤 다데는 어떤 거 라완의 마조와 이자 당가에 당다 때내 줘버리 샤스 와다 랑게 루다 셈라 딱담 와다 데지 이바도 뭐트네 어때도 똥바티 매베도로 먹어 똥바티 다 유여한테 때내 중앙 이바도 봐 중앙 이바지 어때도 고마셔 어때도 참
And so this the way in which this appears in practice is that syllable "ah" is at our heart center, and we focus as single pointedly as we can on that syllable "as" that is representative of the mind of enlightenment before it transforms in our attention to the moon disk mandala, and we have that awareness now that the moon disk mandala is representative of that mind of enlightenment. So, and now we re-examine that statement, I will attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And that I, what is the mode of existence of that I? We start to engage in the analysis of really looking for that in the way in which it appears, it is self-powered in some way. And we look into the body, and the different parts of the body, taking the body apart to see where it appears, where does it arise. The mind itself, looking into the past and previous and later moments of the mind of consciousness, to see is that where this kind of objectively existent I appears. But we end up really not finding this self-powered entity, this objectively existent entity. And we then just to stop at this mere negation of the object of negation until we realize that phenomena, then the kind of like the response to the of recognizing that phenomena cannot exist as self-powered entities is that they arise in dependence, and that they really are empty of existence in the way that they appear. And this emptiness is pointing to the way in which phenomena do exist. That is, that therefore they exist in dependence. They arise in dependence.
What the money body come maybe to the Mago money but around the Matube to the Cone. Around the Matuba. You don't what 10 join but what and never tend to watch. 10 join but around the Matuba never tend to watch. What the school you what are the join by now and don't be combat near to someone by what
And so this not finding does not conclude a non-existence, but rather a non-existence of existing as a self-powered entity. And the way in which the mode of existence is that phenomena arise in dependence. And because of that, it contradicts the possibility of that they could be arising as self-powered entities. And because they cannot arise as self-powered entities, points to the fact that they arise in dependence.
Roda Luki Chasha Mambo Chigi Sobala Tene Taba Yendelich. Chacha Rene Yawa Chavaina Cheva Chavaina losing the maniba. Same second day or same kitchen Gaji Mangola Tene Taba Samanto, same Kora kitchen Gaji Yawa Chavanto, same Kora need you mevach. Need you mevachata, what mevachata, the Kartasa Chinang Chok and Yamana, Quad and Nante Chok and Touch, Chuji in Sabecella, Yobaji in Sabecella. Ravana Matuba in Batita, Motovach go your ordinary.
And so this analysis, proceeds to then establish phenomena as arising in dependence upon a valid object of designation. And so in this particular case, we establish the self as that which can exist in dependence upon by being posited in dependence upon body and mind. But of course, when we go into the analysis of both body and mind as well, we reach the conclusion that they in turn lack any objective existence, and they in turn even at the atomical level. So we're going down to the very smallest entities, that they cannot be established as arising objectively or arising in self-powered in a self-powered nature or in a self-powered state. That all phenomena are similar in arising in dependence. All inner and outer phenomena, all phenomena in cyclic existence and in the state beyond, in nirvana, that no phenomena can be found to exist objectively or under its own power, that every phenomena must arise in dependence.
Order. Tendegi ene yimbate anu ngocho bachene yimbate ngocho bacheba masa ene de jona ta ngosum da to bache che ku yora ta de jawa ina ene kasole ene nyomo ge namdo de ge ma shitu ku yorwa ro ta kasa nyomo ge nga rawando madu bala juba na wata de zi Simbatalata, the leg Shabaki Valatena, and Chakata Mosum, Lotica Yontica Yorba, Yontica Yore. What that she's a dilla to the girl. Rawando to Bati now at the Shabati, she's a dilla tender, and the Chakata Lotica the Kion Yorba.
And so this is important for us to at least recognize, if not even directly experience, which would be wonderful because of course the consequence here, what it implies is that we can really pacify completely the mental afflictions. Because after all, the whole process of mental affliction arises on the basis of our seeing ourselves as an inherently existent or a self-powered entity. And we accede to the way in which we appear. That is as that self-powered entity. And on the basis of that, that separation of ourself and others, we establish this mindset of attachment to what we like and aversion to what we dislike or disapprove of. And that is the very, that is the genesis of mental affliction.
어디 어디 녀몽 시자디 녀몽 시자 자와디 아니 다지 머리 발라데는 지금 인사 오다 뭐이기네 저들 다 매바레데 아니 다 매바린 바데 아니 마시 바체 몽베고 마시 바체 다도 마두 바레데 이네야 다도 두바 나 나와다지 아니 딜라데는 차가던 걸 로티가도 용되기도 유코랑 다도 두바 요마리데 이나 다도 두바 나네 아니 짐베 로티 요르바 로티 두바데 록셰데 로티 요레 아니 딜라데네 아니 차가던 걸 로티가 깨우고도 어때요 다 딤바자 코 시자 매바다 하고나 아니 시자 매바디 아니 뭐토데 아니 다도 짐베 로티 다 네도 바르와 어때요
So this process of really the mistaken mind, the mistaken apprehension of self is the root cause of mental affliction. And that here, even though there's a the natural state is one of selflessness, we fail. It's not knowing this, it's not seeing this, that we mistakenly apprehend the appearance of a self to be real, to be something self-established out there, objectively existing. But that's the way it appears. We accede to that. We actually, in our mentality, accept that as true, and that is the mistake. It's a mistaken mind. That's the problem. It's a mind state. That's a misunderstanding. That's a mistaken mind. And so what we need to understand is that is the mistaken way in which this self exists. It does not exist in the way in which it appears. And the way it does exist is that it arises in dependence. That is the correct mode of existence of self.
그래서 최켈레나다 최켈말레나다 아니 낭바 이나다 낭바 메네다 다 가리 임바 이나야 아니 랑게 가서데 녀몽께나 수이네 디기 요 말에 아니 녀몽이 시자데 수이 저거 다지 말이 받지고 다지 말이 봐 마바바 임바 이나 마바바 임바 이나 거두이네 녀몽께가 고가도 유에되기도 다 되잖아 뭐다 가자 지금 문에 전에 디기 된던 얘기잖아 아니 지금 디기게 매바 속에 디기게 아니 그저 내가 얘기는 수인 받은 거 쳐고 다들 뭐 쳐발라 아니 디기 마중에 그 자와 잡아도 단지 말이 받아 제어데 말이 받 딜라테네 줘데 아니 말이 별로디 말이 별로디 아니 거서데 계획이 유디 아니 다도 두모도 다 잡아도 강게 제고에 차대도 제고에 차대도 다 어디 차대도 어디래다 시자들을 도도도 다 가이나면은 왔다 되게 동반이게 공부하듯이 어느 때에 유대한 좀 두사람도 공부하시 근데 되게 매바 다가랑 가자가 셈샤 아니 되게 예배 로디 유대한 좀 두사람 매바 예배 로디 아니 가서 이게 홍지를 주 홍용수 줘발래 아니 이런 니가 그도다 다외 때도 도지 가고 쟁가 봐 이게 홍게 챈되겠지 어디를 좀 공부해
So whether we accept we have kind of commitments in the Dharma or not, whether we are Buddhist or not, we all suffer from mental affliction. And that as we suffer from mental affliction, we cannot experience any genuine happiness. It's kind of like really beyond us. And then, we must begin to understand that if we genuinely want a happiness, we must seek do more analysis into how this comes about. And we must arrive at the point of this grasping, this ignorance which grasps at the true existence of a self-entity is at the very basis of all the problems with that. And so if we really want happiness, then we must seek to really do something about this mind of ignorance, of this mind that object, that mind misinterpreting reality, must be stopped. And so it's very important that we come to know emptiness, the whole doctrine of emptiness. We come to know that what we're trying to negate in the analysis, and when we reach that point of that non-existence, of realizing the non-existence, the mere negation of the object of negation, to be able to place our mind on that, focused on that. And that then arises as the seed syllable hung, and again at our heart center on the sun disk, and this then transforms into the white five-pronged Vajra, which is marked by that syllable hung at our heart center.
다 다외 땡도 로한데 자주가 셈고 자주가 셈데 다외 진고 냐가와지 주디데도 다 돈이도 베셔라 겁니 아니 덴데게 로디 아니 가서도 이게 홍요소 주발래 아니 다외 땡도 도지가 왔잖아 봐 홍기 참 랑다고 유되게서 오다 덴데게 자주가 셈데다 돈이도 베셔라니데 바다다 랑게 닝게 위요소 아니 베 추진이 시 샤마 둔거 링가들 빠텐도 내나 다 산제 고바 마토가 봐도 다 간제 지금 바다 가서데 셈데 아니 내내 아니 고안에 고도 배에게다 니바체제 제수서 어떤 공부시
So, sorry, it's yes, that the mind of enlightenment, represented by the moon disk mandala at our heart center, and the mind of the wisdom aspect, represented by the white five-pronged Vajra on that moon disk, marked by the syllable hung as well. And that's so we have both the representations of the mind of enlightenment itself and the wisdom realizing emptiness, and to realize that we really have that understanding really at our heart center 24/7, and that it will be there until we attain the state of enlightenment, and that we do everything we can until that time to increase the intensity and the understanding of those two more and more and more.
그래 다 간제 저기 나라서 개와 치마 변제가 네 대적을 리된라서 와베 지금 가서데 지금 최주베 리된 푸조 소바주 고스 거기요 봐 이네 다 장주 거서다 돈이 또베 셔라고 돈에 죽고에 처래 지소서 마사래 그러와 아니 다도 산제 고마 두바 지금 있으네 다들 마사다 장주 거서다 돈이 또베 셔라들이 다들 다 가서데 맞아래 세딜라 임바이네 소소문에 전에 저기 디기지 고서나 장주가 선다 돈이 도베 셔랍니다 소소 디기 그 마사이마다 세티 치마 땡기 디기 근데 임바이네 왔다 맞아가 쪼어 잡디 장주가 선다 돈이 도베 셔다지 섬자 공부자야 돼 개치 뭐 이바래
And so, needless to say, we need these two aspects of our practice, the mind of enlightenment itself and the wisdom of emptiness, to be able to attain the state of enlightenment. But even in this life, it's important for our own happiness, and in future lives to attain, that basis of a precious human rebirth again, whereby we can progress with our practice. We need to be able to rely on the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness as laying down the causes for such a life, even to attain liberation itself. Again, to move on from that to that greater motivation, then we need to base that on the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. So it's whether in this life or in future lives, for definite happiness itself, it all must be based on as a kind of a initial um, um, as a deposit, as it were, on the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness.
그래, 그래서 뭐죠? 라마 주변에 춘네 라마, 춘네 이다, 춘네 가로, 춘네 숨마 됐어야 됐다. 다 뒤래 자주거서 돈이 또 배시라니 춘네 라마래. 춘네 산제래, 저기 이담래 칸주래. 문에 전에 다 자주거서 돈이 또 배시라니 들어봐. 그래도 와. 다디 이마도 뭐 주변에 와 다디 배자 전부 쓰이잖아. 자 전부 쓰이잖아. 와다 거두이네. 아니 디 도하디 말아봤지. 아니 거두이네. 디 공배도 줘야 그거 거두이네 심도 받잖아. 거두이네 그거부터 심도 받잖아. 좋아. 심도 받잖아. 와다 제대 제고 이 어떤데.
And so this is, you know, that indeed is what is the focus of that prayer, where we say you are the guru, you're the yidam, the meditational deity, you are the kandro, the sky goer. All of this is referring to that the you is that the combination of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, to see that it is encompassing the whole path, and as such is incredibly priceless and precious. And we should do our very, very best to do what we can to augment whatever understanding and experience of those mindsets as we can.
출로게 디가서데 다지 뭐지 디가서데 시우저레스게 뭐지 셰셰 마타다 나라도 장주가 셈다 돈이 도베 셰라 공바 임바이나 문에다네 과소래 되네 대 교회게 다 교연나 메나지 그래서 산지가 순랍 딱 간주다 땡주다 대조 나로라 다 장주가 셈다 돈이 도베 셰라다 거기 짠자 숨고도 와 디잔자래도 와 와, 디잔자래도 와. 다디 가서도 지금 마지막 개발자 걔는 권도 폐 제도 잔자 숨고도 와. 아니 되네 제 이당을 하다 네가 뭐 차대다 자주 가서 돈이 또 배시랍 되네. 아니 하수수 소지 차대 줘저래도 와. 디 고바 탈친데 아니 디게도 차로 것도 와. 좋아. 좋아다 자주 가서도 좋아다까지 변화 지금 지주 잠배 양다 제레스다 차나 도질라서 받아 지주 저말라서 받아 그 자주 센다 돈이 되면 셔라니 공바 탈치네 아니 라라 소속에 감다 매번 민자 와라 때네 아니 이당을 한나서 받아 차대기도 와 그래서 맞아져 어디 자주 센다 돈이 되면 셔라더라도
And so, you know, whatever the external, you know, conditions are, it doesn't really matter that if we have habituated to the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, you know, we are representing the essence and indeed the complete meaning of everything contained in the kangyur and the tengyur. That we make that prayer always, that, you know, whatever has not arisen, may it arise and grow, may that which has arisen increase more and more. And that this is the basis on which we can take this particular path to completion. And we can rest assured that all of the deities such as, you know, Chenrezig and Manjushri, the Vajrapani, etc., the Tara, that they have all relied upon the very same twin mindset of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness to attain the states that they have. And so we can emulate that in the same way and have that trust and faith that it will lead us to that state of enlightenment also.
我的那这家住个是东西都被写了，我的这个存在的了，大话多些在我吧就我的那个，那个那个是的，那么对吧？我读过来大话多些在我吧就我的个，那的那么一找他这个甚至他们这个都三届恐怕抽完了，三届恐怕抽完了，家住个是东西都被写了那个娘的嘛就没办法，第一切多。这个第一切多，就个兄弟这些这边那个有啥子，那么对吧？我们基本上我的恐怕些，
And so then we have that careful and focus of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness symbolized at our very heart center. And that likewise, the figure representing the merit field also has this combination at his own heart center. And we have that assurance that we will stay faithful to the generation of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness until we attain enlightenment. And it is with this motivation in mind that we are then bring our attention to bear on listening to a few verses from the Bodhisattva's way of life today.
我的了解，这那么图标我们公布呢，那么图标我们涂过来打我都就这样个吧，就讲，让他们甚至他们这个，涂过来打我都就这样个吧，就讲，搞不着，那么图标我们搞不着，那么图标我们涂过来越呗，打我都就这样个吧的啦个，这讲呢，得来越是让他把都没把着呢，让个甚至他们这个涂过来打我都就这样个吧的了，别，告诉了。팀수 삼삼전 봐도 매 봐도 오다 딜라 되는 말아서 규게 자주 그 셈. 맞게 관에 건도 말아서 규게 돈이도 왜 셔라 게 안에 되는데 마셔봐 셔봐 관에 건도 배 가서도 관에 건도 배 안에 뒤 마도 또 관에 건도 배 오다 누가 켜봐제 중소소 어디를 고바시에냐 그래서 검중에는 야부여 말이 어디서
And that we can maintain our attention as we listen on the figure of the Guru Munindra in front, with the combination of the moon disk and the Vajra at the heart center, and our own a combination of moon disk and Vajra, 5-pronged Vajra at our own heart center, and that from time to time. And then we can visualize that from when we focus on the Guru Munindra, that the countless versions of that moon disk and 5-pronged Vajra emanate from his heart center, and they dissolve into the moon disk and 5-pronged Vajra at our own heart center, and that we have feeling of that increase of our understanding of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. That which is not generated, made freshly generate, and that which has generated is increasing in efficacy more and more and more. And we really feel that we have a special opportunity and power to increase the level of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness in every moment of our day.
我这些，我那什么叫他们这来，我读过了，我打的那些歌，我这些，美国讲的，什么叫他们这来，我这些呢，让给到了，什么叫他们这个读过来，到我这就这样吧的了，那么对吧？我们读过呢，到我这就这样吧，把都没把吹呢，我打这个他妈听呢，家就是嘛，给吧，关了，东西都被写了嘛，给吧，关了，光都拍出，他要不修冲说，是不是？我的这个恐怕写真的要不有吧？我真的想。
And indeed, we can extend this to all the sentient beings all around us as well. They have the similar moon disk and 5-pronged Vajra, and the the countless versions of that emanating from the Guru Munindra in the merit field are dissolving into each and every sentient being all around us in a similar way, and they also are increasing their appreciation and understanding of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And we have that real sense of inspiration and delight around that.
삼장 어떤 연구도 왔다 가서도 변화 디샤 마우도 저 디바지 강에서 어떤 것도 샘마지 버서 강에서 시한 것도 왔다 근데 지금 마지막 되는 맞아야 지금 푸텐다 대주 강가리야 배 랑게 타고도 유 삼삼제 어떻게 아니 내가 그걸 다와도 이제 쟁가 봐 삼았다 아니 라마 투병 뭐 투가네요 어떻게 다와도 이제 쟁가 봐 되게 봐도 뭐 보자 되게 랑다랑게 타고 있다 푸텐다 되게 강가게 아니 저 가서데 두가를 예배 더 되서거든 대다 자주선 맞이 받게 받거나 돈이 더 쉬어 맞게 받고 대다 뭔가 말이 받게도 파세네 딱 무유네도 신도가 야고 쉬우 중소 서로 어디에 공부했잖아 그 셈마기 받자 마가제 대발래 어떤 데를 삼로 달아야 심지 탐지기로 산지가 리기 요바 인사 거기 리기 누바티엘라 야 거기 다다 헛가 교화 마데네 아니 근데 개인 제잖아요 갈리 전에 교화태에게 저와 용어 쪽으로 아니 소소데 삼로 땅와데네 마오발이야 지금 된대게 라야 편도 제가 소설에 아니 가서 손람 사야 다들 제 요구로 봐 다들 뭐지 제고서는 가서 손람 마다 가 제투면 도 거기 대화 야고 요 말아 소저 대화 야고지 방구시 교선에 야고지 소토가 있나 삼로 땅다가 돈에 아니 마오발 지금 소설 지금 레라보토는 편토도 돼 요구로 봐 나 뒤에 집에 다까지 심지어 수인 바 있네. 어떤 공부 시도가 있나.
And so this is a very good way, a good particular visualization and meditation also when we maybe get depressed around the kind of news, is particularly around the war and the conflicts around the world and so on, that are getting us down. Why not then engage in this sort of visualization and that we have establishing that moon disk and the white five-pronged Vajra at our heart center, and including all the sentient beings all around us, the main instigators of conflict and so on, like Mr. Putin and etc. They are all there in there as well, with that similar combination of moon disk and a five-pronged white Vajra, and they are increasing we feel that we are increasing their level of awareness of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, eradicating ignorance and so on. And that to really understand that it's kind of like this is the approach that we can, an alternative, because we have Buddha nature, and this is the way in which that is manifest in this world. It's important for us not just to be able to accumulate merit at every opportunity, but we must understand that a lot of what draws us back and prevents us from gaining more merit and more virtue is that we don't make a connection with other sentient beings. And so this is a way of making connection as well, so that in the future, in some future reality, that we may be able to be of direct benefit in a situation to these particular sentient beings in future.
어디를 공부하시 어디를 쳐 어디를 쳐 나도 뭐 잠 가와이 받아
Shoktan Gyatang Jume Shi, Niga Jume Shi, die Tikte die Shiba die Dobelema Cheva, Loburtu Chiwe, Lelomi Cheva.
다 시바 되베 레 마제바 로보도 치외서 레로 미자와니 자와레서 데네 마제 잠바다 대체 제바 네발라 로보 치다 원에네 기회 좀셔 세버줄스
We're looking at the in the text a fourth outline which states that get over your laziness, because death will happen suddenly when you haven't been able to do what you wanted to do. And verse number 8 states, when this has not been done, when this is being done, and when this is only half finished, suddenly the Lord of Death will come, and the thought will occur, oh no, I am done for.
치슈제죠라. 그러나 어다 최제고 선사도 어다 근데 내가 대차나 지금 있었다. 대차나 지금 있어. 먼저 내가 자지 뭐 그거로 와. 어다 대차소는 나 최지 지금이다. 대차소는 최지 지금. 어다 그 대차자보다 대교 예매다 하고요 말와. 내가 가셔 고조네 차식고네 고마주고네 시도고네 가셔 고조네 체가서 맞아고네 시도고요. 다 나서 좋은 것도 와. Wata di sungu yorwa, ta di sungu yorwa, tenda jawa tenda majeshin, di kwa zambata. Sonzi chigin sa jawa di koma zuga na shidwa, an kasha kwa zambata shidwa, an di cheka zam samna shidwa, lobu di chida maruwa wane, kiwi dani esa chiwe, chomo she, semba de gyoba gyuwe sa, wata didi chungsa, dende ji chungsa wata, nga di che chigin samna, ta che chungma so gyoba gina ta chida gada sa, dada nina gyawa la pepa cho, ta dende yinba yinsa, ko chiwa nyeba, namchi nyeme, chiwe ze chuganda kanya mi pepa yinsa, wata ta jeba, nguyu nezo sum yinba yinsa, ta jeba sum duwa, chiwa nyeba yinsa, che je ta je. Ane namchi nyeme yinsa, che dandana je ta je. Chiwe ze chumado kanya mi pepa yinba za, chi je chusu zhuwa je ta je kukure, so weta ta, di dom chebo jirwa. dom chebo chebo wada tade besa ko ngozo lega de tsada de ane jigi yin pa pa ngune tane digi ju ngune de pa chi she cheba ina ta de pe pang bo des sumu yore dende zai ke wala be ba chi gures be ba chawa shaba wa chum
And so here it's kind of like very obvious, isn't it, that here that we may have so much to do. We get caught in situations putting our jobs that we have to do on the long finger. And this is verses talking about that when we have so much planned, but we maybe haven't even started some jobs. We've just started others. We're only halfway through some when death all of a sudden befalls us, and that we're really, really caught. And we become completely distraught that we haven't been able to do everything we wanted to do, but now it's too late, and we have this cry of, oh no, I am death, overcome by death, I am done for. And that this regret then arises. So, we have to engage in the virtue that we want to engage in now. As the three great conclusions to the meditation on death say, from meditating on the fact that death is definite, we understand that Dharma, to engage in the accumulation of merit and virtue, is what we should do. And through meditating on the time of death being indefinite, we conclude that actually I need to increase that motivation to say that I must engage in accumulation of merit and virtue now and not delay it. And then the conclusion from meditating on at the time of death, only virtue will be of benefit to us, is that we solely focus on the accumulation of merit and virtue now. So very profound conclusions, very profound meditation, and very important that we take that to heart rather than being distraught when death suddenly happens to us, that we don't have all of this unfinished business that we will never get to.
세디 체도 안 내가 차다 마사 생인데 치마라 가야 펜토고 말해. 다 치마라 가리 펜토고 그랬으나 겨와 치마 펜자를 가리 펜토다 최주 두위라 디 펜토고 그래. 세디게 내가 차 마사 되게 다 세디 내전치다 연구를 돼. 이네 치마 펜자를 가야 펜토고 두고 말해. 아니 덴데 고고 땅에 찌기 아니 치마 펜자게 디기 두벨에 개 제바이나 다 고야미 도와. 고야미 도와 다디 삼로 땅도 다디 개도 만도와 아니 세디 제바데 치마 펜자게 퉁게라 도토고 도토바 제토바 이나 다 틱되게 요래. 퉁게라 마저데 개게라 도고 이나 다 삼로 땅고 차대요래.
So we must distinguish distinguish between what work is of benefit to us in the future and what is not. And usually everything that we focus on in this life, the mundane work of this life, none of which is of any benefit to us in future lives. It's only the virtue and merit that we accumulate in this life that will be of any benefit to us in future lives. So, we want to move away from that which is more of a deception in this life, that an understanding that to be mired in that sort of deception is an obstacle that is completely unnecessary for us, and not relevant to what our goal is, to at least attain a precious human rebirth in the future life. And so we must try to make kind of what we're doing into everything into a conducive condition for our practice.
칼라 사바이네 칼라 사바데 최주베 튕겨를 좋아지. 좋아. 내가 레바데 최주베 튕겨를 좋아지. 좋아. 최주베 최주 좋아지. 최주베 튕겨를 좋아되지. 니고바이네 최주베 튕겨를 좋아되지. 미치다녀도 저와이네 최주베 튕겨를 좋아되지. 어디에서 다 최주베 튕겨를 좋아되지.
So that means that what the food that we eat, the work that we do, our sleep, even the connections we make with others, we are all turning those into Dharma. They are acting as conducive conditions for our Dharma practice.
근데 중앙 인바이나 다 거두치바이네 교와요 말이야. 거두치바이네 교와요 말이야.
So if we can do that, then whatever we do will never be a problem or an obstacle.
근데 마치바이네 아니 소소야 수비 내다가 돈에 아니 저게 제바 냠줘다 망부 연구도 와. 좋았다. 소소 제바 여배 갑들 거두네 최주부터 봐 제바이나 아니 제바 냠바이네 그 교바스케 요 말와. 로아타 제바 여배 가도 거두네 제바의 시신 그 수행제는 최근 냠래를 배주당 투바치라. 다 소소 루비 내다다 겨왕감에 레게 온게 아니 제바 냠에게 레제 사바 여배나 다디 제부 민배 갑라. 그 교바 가야 봐. 소소 제바 여배 갈라 배주 약고 당하러.
And so, it's important that we get to this work before we have any kind of a loss of our faculties, and particularly our mind state, our memories, and our ability to communicate. Because at that point, then it's very difficult to be able to direct our mind. And so here we need that sense of mindfulness and alertness around our thinking and our acting, and to be able to direct them as kind of meritorious and virtuous actions. And so it's very important, if we have the karma in our mind state, in our system, to allow for the deterioration or degeneration of memory. And then we need to be able to act, fully compass before that occurs in this life.
Yeah, that is a Tanda was a sugu oziva, Jambaya oziva, to get Yubakabdela, and Taka Caso the Cheda Tuba. That Cheda Tuba so the Garza Janju said the Tony to Beshara committed. Dile Shamba Cheda Tuba, she was Cheda Tuba said Tony to Beshara, the Janju sent me the Katuino come to Bachina, Kotuna Samatown to Bacheta. Cheda Tuba Chatel.
And so now that we our body is reasonably okay still, our mind is reasonably okay still, we still have our memory, etc. So then we might ask the question, then what should we do? How is it that we should, integrate all of that with the Dharma? Simple. Do whatever you can to increase the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. Simple.
다들 가바이네 잔주거서 돈이 더 베셔라니데 가바이네 삼로당 두고 저래면도 다 삼로가 내세 여바이나 삼로당에게 출라치 매바이나 거두이나서 나와이나 삼로당 두고 그래 할라사도 삼로당 두고 그래 내가 내도 삼로당 두고 그래 뭐뭐 근데 라바 창바이마네 잘라 근데 라바 창바이마이나야 데데 라완도 마주바다 뭐 라완도 마주바다 뭐 유게 내서래 뭐 유게 내서 이바테 뭐저바 삼로당에들에 수통와이네야 근데 저 고와 임바이네 디 라완의 마주바데 라완의 마주바 뭐쳐베드네 디토라 삼로타이들이 그러와.
And so this is something then that we can, until we still have our kind of a mental faculty to be able to apply to every possible situation that we're in, whether we're eating, whether we're working, in all these situations, we can apply the knowledge and understanding we have of the mind of enlightenment and the knowledge and awareness we have of the wisdom realizing emptiness, to see how, the situation that we're in lacks any objective existence, that the people we are communicating with also lack any self-powered entity-ness about them. And to kind of keep reminding ourselves of that is really the most essential job we can do.
그래, 무슨 미야 채와다 그가 통해 그가 라완도 마주바 견자르와. તે 라완도 나야 라완도 주바 난게 요래. 나와도 마주바 때 삼다야 돼. 티 이마데네 가서 analytical meditation 다 그때 제바체네. 라완도 주나 그래서 두고 그래. 티가 삼다야 돼.
And so everything that we see, really appears to us as if it's truly existent, and we accede to that appearance. And so we have to engage in the analytical meditation to break this down, to understand that things do not actually exist in the way that they appear, and to kind of feed one's mind with that approach, that reality check constantly is very important.
아니 소소 가봐 좋아하네 가봐 대바이네 뭐서 지소라 때문에 심제 차대어래 근데 저 가봐이네 미통거래 가봐이네 두두 통거래 까이나다 내가 그 진짜 막힌 그 심제지 맞다냐 삼로탄다 아니 내 심제 탐제도 산제 공부 중에서 수위체도 딘수체도 있어 그러와 딘수체도 있어 이마든 못 잡았잖아 아니 삼로탄 대들에.
And so wherever we go, also to also have that kind of first thought approach of whoever we meet, whether people or wherever we see in terms of animals and so on, to remind ourselves that we are working for their benefit. When we say we want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, then we ask, who are those sentient beings? We say these are the very sentient beings for whom I am striving to attain enlightenment, and that we bring that to the fore in our thinking.
뒤면은 검자도 심제 탐제라 아니 남제 대화제도 아니 건강 기대사서 제사서로 잡는 척해요.
So we don't want to be in a state where we're sitting in meditation, generating the mind of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, etc., etc. And then when we're amidst people, and all we can engage in is criticism, just criticizing each other. Not very helpful.
야, 어디로 다 수통하이네. 남주 거저 검자도 삼로 단계 다 검스도 검지 때 말와. 다디 지도나 마케네 배주 당해와. 그러와.
So when
검자다 거저 무소에 잡으시와. 배나 내가 내는 무소네 아니 쇼핑 센터를 전에 다 녀제 야해와. 거에도 녀해와. 어다디는 검자줘도 다 지도나 마저도 배주 당해들와.
So we must think of meditation as like earning money, like our wages, so that what the term gum or meditation means is that we are habituating to a topic, to the way of thinking, to, in this case, the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. Why are we habituating to it? Because we can go out then and integrate it into our lives, into every moment of our lives. Just like when we work to earn our wages, we can bring that money to the shopping center and buy what we need. And so it's in that way. It's kind of like, the fuel of our practice, that when we bring it out and being able to use it in public, in the same way as we have generated those mindsets in practice, in meditation.
아니 지금 패시브도 토마도네 다 선제수도 그냥 네거티브 맞게 받지도 시비 개치고 차대도 와. 다 패토도 쓰더라. 패토마도네 뒤통할 때네 네거티브 게 마도 받지대. 그러 뇽모 게 마도 받지대 시비 개치 버려도 와.
So what is a key kind of like first point of practice is that we are out to benefit others. And if we can't manage that, never to generate mental affliction, never to maintain or generate a negativity. It's very, very important.
유해다 파져들 막아내 지금다 너희도 소설 내야 되거든. 녀목께서는 소설 내기도 와. 얘도 그게들 막아내 지금다 비결 내고야 말 소설 내자다.
And so, you can see that if we generate a dislike for some person, that in fact, it may not have any impact on them, but in fact, what is generating for us is that mental affliction, and that is harming us. That is definitely going to harm us. It's a pointless way of thinking. Yeah. And so that means that without the presence of mindfulness and alertness, what might look like Dharma practice to us might in fact be only generating negativity.
zambolina nyokta da kange da maktu da ane jiga sayim da de nyokta mangbo chodo o da de kowa rwa yong rwa san ane kowa la nyeba keje yong tuwe jidwa ane dila dina kowa la dina nyenjung keje de nyenjung keje la pento dwa da ine ngoze de samlo ma da aje ane samlo shamba dina tang de na ane ko nyenjung ane tunje ga ngoze beju tang ma dwa chagi dwa.
So really, it's kind of like important that we are able to infuse our mind, our thinking, our consciousness with these mind states of really bringing to the fore the way in which we deal with all situations in our life is through enacting really our understanding of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, and whatever we're doing, whatever work we're doing, that's important. It's kind of like very much important that to see what's so emphasized in the texts and the prayers, that it is brought out and becomes a living practice, a living tradition in the world, and like we can also interpret the world in this way, through this lens, so that all the trouble that we see in the world, all the conflict that we see in the world, the earthquakes, the various tsunamis, etc., 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 are symptomatic of cyclic existence. This is what you get by being born into this reality. And we become like recognizing this to generate in us the sense of renunciation, of saying, I've had enough of this. This is all that can be expected from this level of reality, and I need to work towards a definite emergence from this. So to be able to use what we see on the news, what we understand of the world, and to see it through this Dharma lens, is something that we can get a great deal better at.
And back Kamba Yago, she was the Langa Yago, she was the top, Mota Pita was she was the and it me top, Miss Mambo. And it because of the Shijun Yong, the Kangamambo, Ted, what that is dead. Nara, that the Kamba did the soil and me Mambuge, Pekale, she reach out. And if we call it up, Mamkale Mambujan and Kamba the Sune. She would share that, what Temples came into a 중앙에 nyokta 중앙도 매바 차주고 도와 돈 레라보 톤에 매바 차주고 도와 진짜 제 시보 지금 가서데 지금 가서 다 기본 용에 디기 용에 쳐도 지금 열 봐. 지금 열때 얘네야 거 지금 중앙에 지금 내줘서 땅한테 헛 칼을 매바 차줘야 되는데 그리고 지금 알아두고 다 지금 알아두고 지금 디기 주고 여서도 다 강바 쓰고 소야 모자 쓰고 소야 근데 그 통계 지금 용해 쳐도 다 미지 차상 지금 배주 당기 열때 얘네 대 출로 잡았는데 아트쿠기 잡았는데 정도 때는 가면도 왔다 가면도 왔다 다디 주베 가라 지금 장바다 닝제다 된데 군에 랑네 지금 제여나 다디 개와디 켜줘야 열봐 다디 가고를 망쳐라다 무소야다 착당다 된데 원주도 안에 뒷바사 어다 된데 저래도 왔다 다 심지어 펜베쳐도 장바다 닝제가 통 된데 그도 제와이나 그 강바다 되게 매바 차바 이나야 거기 장바다 닝제가 온게 제바디 디 개와디 켜줘야 열봐 그래도 왔다 나라도 그 다들 지금 시고 위해서도 시고치 템포스 개면도 와 제부들로 됐다
So, it's very obvious, isn't it, that in situations that we witness in the world, such as, that flood recently going through the city in Libya, where, so many wonderfully kind of very big houses, expensive cars, and so on, just completely wiped away in an instant. If we consider, how much effort has gone into building those cars and to be able to earn the money for those, in building those houses, and how much money has gone into earning money for those cars, etc., etc. How it can be so easily eradicated like that, just in a moment to do, and all everything that was done, all the work, all the energy that went into making that city. It's all for people's intention to be happy, to be satisfied, to be secure, and then suddenly disaster just rips it all away, and then they are helpless to do anything about it. So it's like for us too, we're endeavoring, striving to make our way in life, and money for a place to live, car, etc., etc., all of the stuff of life, that if an earthquake struck, we would be just, seeing it all completely gone and taken away from us, and not being able to do anything about it. And it's just to have that understanding of just how volatile life is in this reality, how unreliable things are in this reality, and that really, how do we respond to that? Is it that we, kind of bewail our terrible luck and kind of develop anger and resentment and jealousy of others who weren't affected, etc., etc.? Or can we, again, having become so habituated to the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, be able to see all these situations as a way of generating virtue and merit, of improving our attitude, to be able to empathize with all the sentient beings who suffer in this way.
로 강바다 모자 도 고야 쓰고 말 고마레 쓰고 말 때도 고고 튼제 고 이네 빨라 디 돌아 제베갈 오 심제라 펜베체도 심제라 펜도 장바다 닝제다 아니 라싱가 마주베 따웨 심베 돈에 데시 제유나 디 개와디 딱케는 줘요 봐. 디
So,
개와디 줘도
of course, I'm not in any way recommending that houses and cars and so on are not necessary. But to be able to aim for, to have the aspiration to have a car and a house, it should be also combined with the motivation that I will, purchase a car, I will purchase a house, and use it to benefit sentient beings. And I will be using it to increase my understanding and depth of understanding of the mind of enlightenment, and to sharpen my understanding of the wisdom realizing emptiness. So we keep that motivation to the fore in all of that what we do. Then we're more guaranteed to be able to use all of the necessary things in life in a more skillful and beneficial way.
강바 매바차네 강바데 소액이 개와디 대대요래 매바차가 말와 매바차요 말이야 좋아 강바 매바차와 이나야 강바데 소액이 저도 심젤라 페베체도 소고요 심젤라 페 도베체도 소고요 디 개와디 대대기와 개와디 매바차도요 말와 어디래다 착당다 대자 제당 컨트롤 착당다 젠셈다 데데 온게 제와 이나 강바데 매바서 디가다 디과제사 다 용니자 숨자래도 나라도 제대 직den게 세디 개체보스를 제대 막 디가들 제보문에는 때문에 되게 쪼고리 차되기도 와.
So it's important to understand as well that if we have built or purchased a house, for example, within that motivation, and then even if it were to be taken away in a flood or an earthquake and completely destroyed, we would still have that virtue that we maintained. We had that aspiration to generate virtue and benefiting others through that house, and that's still with us. But if we have had none of that, but rather the house has served to increase our attachment and aversion through maybe being competitive with others who have a fancier house, or really, or the arrogance of thinking that our house is superb and so on, and then it is taken away similarly with that same flood or earthquake, then we're left with just negativity on our mind state. So we need to, again, the meaning behind that is that we should know and be aware of how to take the profit out of any situation. And so the main meaning in this verse is really that, there's no time where it is not appropriate to practice the Dharma. We should be practicing the Dharma at all times. My third outline says that if we do not make effort at virtue, then we will have to suffer the torment of suffering. And this has 2 points to it. One is that there is the torment of sorrow at the time of death. And secondly, that if we do not make effort at virtue from now, right from now, we will not fulfill our purpose. And so the first of these was that the torment of sorrow arising at the time of death is verse number 9. Their faces flowing with tears and their eyes red and swollen with sorrow. My relatives will finally lose hope, and I shall behold the visions of the messengers of death. And so here's, and if we do not engage in virtue or make effort or strive for virtue, then at the time of death will come this terrible sorrow that with the swollen eyes and the flowing tears, the red eyes, and the fact on the basis of that, then our close ones, all who we love and so on, will see that our chances to be sustained are gone. And it'll be see that the situation is hopeless. And then from my own visions, I will see the messengers of the Lord of Death arriving to take me, to lead me to the hell realms. And of course, I will understand that this is with I'll be tormented by great regret for not having been able to achieve what I should have.
다들 용촉으로 왔다. 다 소소 제일 소소 또 대그래 삼사전에 아니 그 제일 지금 샤 아니 다그 남진의 예바 매반에서 다 아니 치와를 투원체 아니 소소가 지금 예고의 그 미팅에 레다체 아니 소소야다 당가 타야를 오면도 삼사 차원도 되네 어떻게 쪽으로 와 어디 숨고 그러 소다 되는기래 이내다 수이나 면하다 간자 저그 치외세 그 레건데 사완의 그 저거도 연구 됐더니 다 소소 용을 알아봐
So this may be a case where, somebody who has been able to accept the Dharma, has some sort of understanding of the Dharma practice, but through laziness, has not engaged in any spiritual practice. And so they arrive at this point of life, at death, and great regret arises. That they have become, just mired in the stuff of this life, attached to the happiness of this life, and constantly maybe putting their Dharma practice on the long finger. Later, I'll get into it sometime down the road, and constantly procrastinating. And then when the time of death comes, and we know that the time of death is indefinite, so it will inevitably happen, unexpectedly. And then the great sharpness of that regret arises, and to torment the mind, and to see that nothing can be done about it now. It's too late. And so to avoid such regret, we must change and act right now, from right this moment.
다든지 개추지 랑게 지금 니샤 투지가 쇼가 야랑와는 건다 많이 그 봐도 가리 지금 여봐네 아니 지금 최다 저와 여봐 디 장주가 생기 튕겨자야 디 돈이 또왜 셔라 계획이 튕겨라 자도야 어디 제고 다디 제도와 이나 아니 나다요 말이야 어다디 딜 봐자도네
So what's really
근데 존에 장주가 생기 근데 저 돈이 또왜 셔라 삼로 땅도야지
And so what's really, really important is to keep tabs on ourselves through each day, really, to not allow any day to go by without checking in the mind as to what extent have I trained my mind on virtue. To what extent have I trained my mind to enhance my understanding of the mind of enlightenment and the engagement with that mind of enlightenment? To what extent have I trained my mind in the wisdom realizing emptiness? And to keep that sort of daily awareness and mindfulness on our own performance is very important.
소소 지금 내가 가리 지금에는 소소 내가 근데 지금에는 변에 기계이나 암지이나 내요이나 근데 지금 여봐이나 오다 소소 제사도 오 진짜 막긴 그 심전에 아니 당에 내게 온게 다른 거 기계 제 맞아 딜 편도 제 그것도 다른 거 암지 맞아 딜 편도 제고 제가 다른 거디 내요이 맞아 딜 거 편도 제 그것도 오다 딜 임바서 오다 딜 편도 제 마음 걸 심지 탐절라 디는 제 편도 제도 교를 교화쇼 다른 이 딜 편도 제와데 마음 걸게 최고 돈의 편도 제도 교를 교화쇼 오다 가지 지금 강가 지금 최라 파자네 최라 파철 가서데 장주가 쌤다 돈이 또왜 싫어다 어디들 계획에 아니 줄을 파자네 아 네가 라와도 맞어 봐래 또왜 파다 따삼래 서래 약고 그 잘해 두가 네가 자네 삼로 따네 아니 쇼라 소자 라자데 라온 그래 최제 제도가 아니 네 제발할 때는 탕촌의 제거 말이야 그래서 내대 냠내 인삼 지고 열봐 탕촌 제거 말 깔래큰 말 거두네 존이 되고 거두네 진이 되고 그래 다 내가 인삼을 탕제거다 니마 먹고 제가 간다다 탕제한 그래
So in our work, to whether we are a teacher, whether we are a doctor, whether we are a nurse, to be able to really see that what we're doing is our practice, not just our work, to be able to, in as best as we can, to integrate all of our understanding of Dharma practice into our work, that these beings that we are working for and with are kind mother sentient beings, and through my karmic connection, this is where I find myself now, and it's my job to be as beneficial as I possibly can towards each and every one of these sentient beings, to benefit them in every way possible. And may in the future, I pray that I may be able to benefit them more and more and more in the future, that ultimately I may be able to benefit all of them with the Dharma. And that so we use what we can of our understanding of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, seeing that all of what I am experiencing here is merely imputed by thought. It does not exist inherently or objectively from its own side. And so we bring to bear in our work that it is synonymous with our practice. In that way, we don't get exhausted. If we're just thinking of work as work and then we're trudging in day after day after day after day, sure, we're going to feel exhausted by it. But in this way, we can actually see it as much more meaningful and purposeful by being able to integrate our motivation into our work. And so like, we have not only then increasing our mind of enlightenment, increasing our wisdom realizing emptiness, but getting paid for it as well, which is good.
Yeah, 최근에 지금 있는 셈제스의 셈다니고 마소나 최주부터 거래 셈제라 펜바 두발라 때네 아니 개와라 초바레고 도면도 셈제라 펜센 주에 로메발라 아니 개와라 초바 두고면 도와 개와 셈 초지 개와세다 제발라 알아도 그 초바 고고면 도와 그러나도 상맥이 가서데 가서 상맥이 아니 초바 셰데가 가서래 다 간자 저 로아다 지가서 코나도 가서래 손이 도도라 때는 중에게 아니 다 되게 초바 타야봐 여러 나라도 그 초바 탭자대도 고금도 다 코나도라 가리고서 먼저 심젤을 편바 주베 때 건설을 초바리자 코나도 그다 당고 투게 되는 심젤을 편바 주베래 라마라베라 심젤을 편바 주 산제바다 심젤을 편바 주베 먼저 심젤을 편바 주베 삼로질레 바다 초바를 더 되기도 심젤을 편베 삼로질레 마도나 초바를 조금도 개와 삼제 선제 개와 세다 잡아 니아바 저거 나 셈제를 편바줘야 삼도 땅고도 뒤면은 초발을 조금은 도와.
So it's really important that we initially, we must work on developing this closeness towards sentient beings. After all, it's important that we have that closeness in order to be able to then enact virtuous actions, or to be able to generate the mind of benefit for those sentient beings. We have to be kind of invested in their welfare, and to do that, we must have that sense of closeness towards them. I mean, in many ways, whatever we offer to the gurus and so on, and to the Buddhas, is contaminated. It's the nature of the offerings that we can make in this realm, and that. But what we can do, which is kind of much more powerful, and is to benefit sentient beings in every possible way we can. This is the most pure offering where we can make to all the Buddhas, is to be of benefit to other sentient beings. And that begins by feeling that sense of closeness, being invested in not only establishing their happiness, but in removing their sufferings. And in that way, it facilitates our acts of virtue and acts of benefit towards them. So that's an important component that we should focus on. And so when we have that sense of closeness, we have that mind of benefit towards the sentient beings. Because of that, then we're on the side of virtue then.
Shara Kome Shara Dile Shabaji, Kasoda, Chida Ming Tama Mangoya, Tibata, Tony Tobeshada, Janju Single Masevana, Tiba, 차상와지 다 두고면도 소야 차상와지 줘 두고면도 뒤 좀서나 뒤바에 차상와지 다 두고도 소야 차상와지 줘 두고도
So when we infuse our thoughts and actions with the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, we are not engaging in any negativity. We are adding to the accumulations of wisdom and merit. We are increasing our appreciation of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. There are so many benefits to being able to keep these minds to the fore in our thinking, that it's always something which is of benefit.
Okay.
And so let's leave it there for today.
뭐야 아니 다 대기 수반의 신체전 다 간자 라게 되는 레벨 라마 투베 엄보테 야조 검제 시작 호텔에서 동는 가이베
So then again, to bring our mind to the figure of the Buddha that we are visualizing in the merit field.
아니 되네 아니 저 감성 좋아해도 가봐 개봐 이봐 이네야 아니 동엘라 맞다 버렸다 동에 줘도 다들 저기 잡아도 저거 동엘레도 맞다 버려 다 잡아도 저거 동에가 마방 봐도 와다 오늘 전에 디기 생이 상황이 영향 걸어민도가 다 되면 등 어쩌베도네 아니 코알레 게 봐줘 연종시 공부시 되네게 연종 예배 로데 아니 랑게 지워 아니 가서 이게 빰질을 줄수 삼사체 아니 밤데 용서 줘발래 아니 빼마 담아 개와치를 줘서 삼삼체 어들레체 다드네 아니 지금 지난 거 척한데 저 여바 있네요 이바 있네요 아니 유대는 줘봐서 근데 봐 두자 요마레서 두자 요마레서 커다 줘가지고 공부시 로 커다 줘가지고 공부시 어다 된데 예배 로데 아니 이게 혼질라 홍 용서 줘발래 님의 기본 약공하지 줘서 삼사체 다들 임바 인사 다 유대는 맞아 완전 거 때내 중화래 때내 중화인데 다 지금 가서데 윤대 다 심지 탐제거도 산제 고마 생긴데 다 주의 용사래 디 규대대대 좀바이나 다 주의 용사래서 오다 때내 중화 임베 좀 잘라 때내 오다 니바니네 어때는 잖아 다 간자죠 제제 아니 심지 탐제거도 산제 고마 주의에는 맞아 다원에 지금 모두 다 뚝뚝바 지금 심지 탐제도 산제 고마 대한 유관이도 맞아 주고 지금 서 고마시 근데 이게 아찔라죠 아용서 줘발래 아니 다외 지고 약하셔 반대서라 뭐로 다게 지고 빼면서 가려 구조도 좀 못해도 손대자 담배 가서 배 니베 가서 수배 때문에 산제 고마마도 제 손소 가고
And so then, while focusing on the figure of the Buddha in the space in front, we think about all the three realms of existence and how, we are inundated by suffering, the suffering of change, and in particular, pervasive suffering. We realize that until we can eradicate that pervasive suffering, we will not be able to experience any true or definite happiness. And so that's the mark of cyclic existence. And we really want to attain liberation from that cyclic existence, and generating that mind of renunciation, of definite emergence from this state is symbolized by the syllable bam, which is on our crown. And that transforms into the lotus mandala seat on our crown. And then how we contemplate all inner and outer phenomena, lacking any objective existence. And that this is, regardless of what that phenomena is, they don't even exist even at the atomical level. And that mere negation of the object of negation is symbolized by the syllable hung. And that hung, again, at our crown, is transformed into the sun mandala seat on our crown. This, in turn, the fact of a phenomena lacking any independent existence points to the fact that phenomena arise in dependence. And this allows all things to be possible. The law of cause and effect is validated. We can actually establish causes to attain the state of enlightenment itself because of this. It allows for this to be possible. And so this then, develops that sense of conviction in us to be able to really aim to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And that mind of enlightenment is symbolized by the syllable A, which transforms into the moon mandala seat on our crown.
Tene, udaka chaja pande sa lamaro daga chiwa kare kusu tuju ngudu sa tene sunde riba sum chene, tamba sum chene, tambe kaso pe, nipa kaso shu, suwa tenu shuna sanje kuma mato, wada che sum su, tene yala tuwa mendeta chawa pi, o tene che.
So, and then we utter the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the space in front, from the merit field. At the end of the second, they have arrived at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we have the definite certainty that they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice in that fact. We make the offerings of the 7 limbs and the mandala offering.
Tene yanjo nyenjo dagine shinja kumbashe ro ta chikaso de tunga do jo chaba du ji ge tunga de pang ma do ba do ane de tunga shaba ni ge den che de ge do wa da de ba de ya ta re da de re wa da de le ba ji za wa da de kaso de 감소 조화를 가봤자 봐 이내다 chaba du ji tunga le ma de ba da ti ma pang pa do ane be 디지 땡 저거 용할 매바 인도 거다 들린 게 봐줘 연중 깨네 거는 게 봐줘 연중 깨네 아니 되는 연중 예별로데 아니 가서데 이게 밤질 랑닝디 이게 밤질 주소 섭자 밤 용소 주발래 아니 랑닝디 밤마다 제칠 주소 섭사자 아니 저게 지나가 추가 대신 바이네 유된 주바 두산 요말 공부하시겠네 다 야나 다 심제 탐제 산제 공부 주긴 있어 나데 가봐도 제주 근데 많이 받아가라 셈샤 어떤지 공부하시 많이 받아가라 셈샤 어다 된데 가자가점 개별 된데 그 로데 아니 로데 다 가자 이게 홍치를 줘서 홍용수 줘발래 다 가자지 되게 가서데 빼마 담아지베 때도 아니 니메지고 냐가와시 줘서 섬서자 다 되네 어다 라진도 마주와 인바이 사고 때네 좀도 조사도 되네 이제 다 자주가 셈스도 겁나 깨주요 봐 때들이 샤서도 예바 체네 아니 셈제 탐제게도 산제 고바 용안이도 마도도 죽으면도 토바지기 선서 공부하시 아니 되네 예베 로디 이게 아직라죠 용서 줘발래 다외지고 냐가와시 아니 니메지고 때문에 내서 섬서들 반대자 라마를 보세 다게 닌가 빼면서 가서 구소도 좀 구소도 소들에서 랑이 지원에 마 또마토베 뭐 외게 남바치 잘한게 지원에 마 전전 랑이 닌가 가도 다 마죠 백가서 니베 가서 수면 때도 산제 고마마도 보다 제소다 야고 시고 총소서 엔테네 니 빼마다 제다 마카촌 남비 닝네다는 디가도 도지 가고 상가 바체가 제 가제 디 타고도 되베창 다에도 오모노모노 마음을 줬어 들어 봤은 거 때네 지금 자매가 가서 오마라 봐서 나한테 때네 땐데게 나 엄마 얘다 해도 마셔만 해서 어디 무슨 거기가 어디인지 공부하시
So once again, then we start to reflect on the fact that this cyclic existence that we find ourselves in is in the nature of suffering, whether it's the suffering or suffering of change and or pervasive suffering. And indeed, until we really abandon pervasive suffering, we can't expect any definite happiness, because that pervasive suffering actually induces the other 2 sufferings also. So we generate that mind of renunciation, wanting to gain a definite emergence from cyclic existence. This is symbolized by the syllable PAM or BAM, which is now situated at our heart center and transforms into the lotus mandala seat there. Then we contemplate how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, are merely imputed by thought. They do not exist even at the atomical level. And we're going through the meditation to arrive at the mere negation of the object of negation, and placing our placement meditation on that state arises the syllable hung. And the hung at our heart then transforms into the sun mandala seat. From that understanding, the lack of any inherent existence, actually, we conclude then that phenomena must arise in dependence, and this makes all things possible. The law of cause and effect is validated. We can establish all the causes to even attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And this renewed conviction in possibility allows us to more genuinely make the aspiration to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, the mind of enlightenment, which is symbolized by the syllable A at our heart center, and that transforms into the moon mandala seat. Then we actually recite the invocation verse thrice again, to bring our Guru Manindra from the crown down to the heart center. O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the crown down through the central channel. At the end of the second, they have arrived at the pre-prepared seat at our heart. And at the end of the third, we have the certainty that the Buddha will remain until we ourselves attain enlightenment. This brings a great sense of joy and assurance to us. And then the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at their tips by a white five-pronged Vajra. The package is surrounded by three mantras: the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, and the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination in a clockwise direction.
구송 돌려 외세트는 랑게 집어내 간디게 봐도 외세트는 랑게 앞에 류게나게 뒤태 탐자라 외게 참네 와다 류게 나 탐자 참 뒤태는 외게 참네 다가자 랑게 차 탐자라 외게 맞아 매버잖아 와든지 안에 들라테는 랑게 통만 매번은 사베 뒤바데 뒤바치다 다 개바도야 다가자 소주바 맞아발로 미사와 줘봐 준 정말 수동 같이 나선에서 로달라서 다가자 제백 하나마도 라생거 하나마도 베냐바 세디온 디가마 디가 통함에 와서 디바데 봐 자체 다바 중소 상자체 아니 다가네 신게 제 가소래 소소 답에 또 받아 가고 자주서 나와서 상하 단다다 파다말라 먹을 참을 조성버서 돈나 토리 답에 줘서 코안 예송 요 예동 거초 지지바 근데서 사바데다도 봐 자체 다가네 신게 저 추주베 계제 루게 나사 생게 동에 중심 코만이 와 자롱 틸레 겨 근데 좀 받자체 다네 안티가 니바체 중소 삼사체 다가네 신게 저 뉴도 산제 고마 토발라 견치주다 탐에 나세 무슨 탐에 나세 견 다제 장네 가난 산제 다바람 자 바시 차도 다 야고 시우 중소 삼사 고마체 어들체
Then light rays begin to emanate from the Guru Buddha at our heart center, permeating through every cell of our bodies, from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet, effecting a purification, a thorough purification, along with imprints of all negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated in general since beginningless time, as well as the negativities of the 10 non-virtues of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, of lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle gossip, of covetousness, malicious intent, and wrong view, of all negativities associated with infractions of what the Buddha has prescribed, are naturally occurring negativities of the three downfalls and infractions of the three sets of vows: the Pratimoksha vows, the Bodhisattva vows, and the Tantric vows. Of all disrespect we have ever shown from our parents towards our parents up to our gurus, all the negativities that we have accumulated, not just in this life, but in the one previous to that, and previous to that, and previous to that, going back to beginningless time in cyclic existence, and all the obstacles that we may meet within our body and mind, being disease and sickness of the body, again, sickness and disease of the mind that may prevent us from engaging in spiritual practice. They are all purified. All of the imbalances of the elements of the body and of the channels, winds, and drops again are purified and realigned. And in particular, the main obstacle to our quickly being able to attain enlightenment, ordinary appearance, is dismissed and replaced by a pure appearance.
다들 소소 랑게 아니 신도 트벨 룬디 닐랭자 라마샤자생 고딜 렌지 치켄체나 소소르드 라마샤자생 고르 주소 삼사자 소소 신도 트벨 셈데 닐랭자 라마샤자생 고딜 렌지 치켄체나 소소 셈데 라마샤자생 고툴라 주소 랑게 룽아 유서 라마샤자생 고촌 동고 예메 주소 디 대와 대외 동바데 대도니스메 이시 계소 삼사 랑게 내사게 내데 뇌기 견다자 라마샤자생 다메 신도 주소 삼사 다 랑 라마샤자스의 구촌도는 거 예매 교와디 나라라 심메바시 고바시 대대와 대돈조스의 시잖아 랑게 투 라마샤자스의 꿀이 교와 구촌도 거 예매 교와 투갈래 라마샤자스의 빠도 매바터 심정을 잡는냐 봐 아뜨네 심정 탕자 라마샤자스의 차상화를 티발라 때네 대다산자 라마샤자스 구촌도는 거 예매 주소 대다가 내사가 내대가 뇌의 견다자 라마샤자스의 답에신도 주소 다 심지어 탐제가 된도 산제 고마주는 심지어 탐제 산제가 살아 고기 선님들이 그 손을 가고
And so then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of my own most subtle consciousness acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, and my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. This then, I realize I am now, my body, speech, and mind become non-dual with the body, speech, and mind of indivisible from the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. This brings forth great delight of bliss, which combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. The place I find myself into is completely purified of all degeneration and becomes the palatial abode of an enlightened being. And then seeing myself as a fully enlightened being, completely lacking in any inherent existence, but a non-dual, indivisible, my body, speech, and mind being indivisible from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being, I send out light rays, equal in number to all the sentient beings in existence, in all the realms of existence. And as these light rays dissolve into all those sentient beings, they are purified of all fault and arise as fully enlightened beings. The place that they are in also is purified of any degeneration and fault and becomes the palatial abode of enlightened beings. And then I can rejoice at this point in this is the day I've been able to lead all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment. How wonderful.
wasa sanje sala goba dechu tuisu sozo gewa kare tuba tuga sozo de jaba yuiden de tuba to tusa yomare sa kota choba kubashe ane di dewate dewa di yebe lote tongbate ne dedo nisuma ishi kesu samsache.
And this leading of all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that, and myself as the agent of that virtue, are completely lacking in any objective existence. They're merely imputed by thought. And this understanding brings forth a sense of bliss, which combines with voidness. And again, I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
오다 근데 심제 탐제 오다 단다디 삼라단에 매바 이제 삼라단은 뭔데 코나 데델레로 저도 요말바 요말이 돼 이내 단다디 삼라단 왔나 신게 문에 코나 데다 요에게네 다 교리 교와쇼스 다 문에 코나 데다 요 교리 교와쇼 고아지에다 아니 데데 요알라 라니 산제 고마 마도 타모도 디 요알라 에 잔주 선다 돈이 도 싫어니 그냥 내 맞잖아 타모도 다 데데 이마에서 다 가르치고 그랬으나 다 소소가 지금 단단히 손대 단단히 손대 다 가자지 전화 되나 사나 투나 다 가자 내가 얘기 요만다 내가 잠샤가 요만다 딱 그래제바 야는 개과 차와이네 야나 타마 시와이네 내단 그래 차와이네 되게 그가 장주거서다 돈이도 왜 셔라기 기획이 튕겨도 교토와 지기 있어 그러봐 디 깨도 교토와 지기 있어도 어떻게 공부하셨잖아 어떻게
And so then, of course, we're operating at the level of imagination and mere aspiration now. This does not occur as easily as we have just explained, but I really want to establish it by dedication, a sincere aspiration, and to really do whatever I can to quickly make this manifest, to attain that state of enlightenment, to benefit all sentient beings. I know that I must do that. I must attain that state of enlightenment. I know that the two main steps in being able to do that are to generate the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And so from right now, from this moment on, I vow to do whatever I possibly can, whatever is occurring, whether I'm on the move or sitting down or well, sick, old, on the verge of death, regardless, I will be able to see every situation as a conducive condition for increasing my mind of enlightenment and wisdom realizing emptiness. In your da la sai tu kyun Yang ma pa ne par sho na ke panam ke pa nyam pa me pa Gong ne Bedang Dewa Malu Jung Wei Ne Chen Wei Zi Wang Chen Jin Gaso Yi Sha Pe Si Te Bao Du Ting Ge Say Wei Te Chen Chen Wei Zi Dream Kempe Wong Jam Yang Gao Kempe Tu Ken Tong Kapa Lo Sang Drai Pe Sha Lo so mig me te wei te chen re zi re me ken pe wong po jam pe yang Gong Chen Ken Pe Tu Ken Song Ka Lo Song Drai Pe Shav Lo Make me say way to chen chen dream can be You are Avalokiteshvara, a great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa, at your feet I make requests.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Gana, Tuksana,
Thank you.
Naso.
Thank you.